In the future, running for wealthy people is considered illegal. Fortunately, the man reacted in time and stopped. Otherwise, his secret of becoming rich overnight would surely be exposed. To cover up his naturally poor demeanor, the man headed straight to a 7-star hotel. Without saying a word, he booked the next presidential suite. But strangely, the front desk did not charge any money. Instead, they scanned the man's wrist with a device and handed him the room key. It turns out that in the future, humans no longer need to spend money, but time. Everyone has a timer on their arm, which is not just currency, but also a countdown of their life. Once the timer reaches 0, the person will die instantly. On the other hand, they could gain immortality. 3 days ago, Will was still a broke man, living by working in an electronics factory, tightening screws, but the time he earned was only enough for him to live until the next day, and the company often deducted overtime pay. Will was angry but dared not speak up, because if he were fired, he wouldn't even have time to find a new job. Until one night, Will met a middle-aged man at a bar. From then on, the gears of fate began to turn. The man had a full 100 years of time on his arm, but because he was too flamboyant, he inevitably caught the attention of criminals. Will stepped forward to kindly remind him, but the rich man didn't take it seriously. At that moment, time bandits arrived at the bar. The once lively crowd scattered in fear, but in the face of the robbers' threats, the rich man remained calm, even deciding to go to the bathroom before anything happened. Unexpectedly, Will appeared from the shadows, knocking out the guard and saving the rich man. Get him! The two wandered through the streets, several times nearly getting caught, eventually escaping to an unfinished building where they shook off the robbers. Seeing that the rich man was still smiling, Will was curious as to why he came to the slums to show off his wealth. It turned out that the rich man's beloved wife had passed away not long ago, and his entire fortune was worth thousands of years. The thought of living alone forever caused him immense pain, so he planned to end his life in the slums. Will felt deeply sympathetic after hearing this. At the same time, he learned a harsh truth from the rich man's mouth. In this world, 90% of time is controlled by the wealthy. They control the prices in the slums, exploiting the wages of the poor. This increases the cost of living, so that people dare not rest. This way, the rich can enjoy a high-quality life, under the premise of immortality. Then, the rich man asked Will, if you had as much time as I do, what would you do? Will, seeing the question, rolled up his sleeve, looking at the little time he had left. He said he wouldn't waste a single second, perhaps feeling he was wasting something others treasure. The rich man just quietly watched Will without saying a word. The next morning, Will woke up and instinctively checked his time, but found that he had gained a full 100 years. Meanwhile, the rich man had already disappeared. He got up and went to the window, and saw the rich man sitting quietly by the bridge. The rich man had given all his time to Will, and quietly waited for the countdown to end. His heartbeat stopped. He fell into the river. By the time Will arrived, all he saw was the rich man's body. What he couldn't have imagined was that an inconspicuous camera above his head would bring him endless trouble. That night, Will, holding flowers, intended to surprise his mother, but when the bus arrived, his mother did not get off. Will immediately realized something was wrong. He rushed to his mother's workplace. It turned out that when his mother boarded the bus, the fare had suddenly increased from 1 hour to 2 hours, and after paying the mortgage, she only had an hour and a half left. Walking home would take 2 hours, putting her in a near-death situation. His mother hoped the driver would show some leniency and let her son pay later, but the company had a no-credit policy, and the driver couldn't help her. Seeing no one on the bus offering to help, she planned to go to the bank to take out a loan, but the bank had already closed. With no other options, she had to run back. After who knows how long, the mother and son finally met. At this point, only 10 seconds remained. They both sprinted toward each other. Will reached out, trying to save his mother in time, but was 1 second too late. Just like that, Will's joy of becoming rich overnight vanished, leaving only endless grief and hatred. He blamed the rich for making the rules, swearing to take everything from them. The next day, after giving a friend 10 years of time, he set out for the rich district, but before he could enter, Will was shot, because just passing through 3 checkpoints had already cost him 2 whole years. This showed just how difficult it is for the poor to break through their class. Will's plan for revenge was simple. He would win all their time. He went to the biggest casino in the rich district, winning a few small rounds. Will's capital grew to 250 years. He was then invited to a higher stakes game, where he met the wealthiest banker in the rich district. The banker had 9,000 years of pocket money. He could tell that Will wasn't from the area, and made things difficult for him. His first bet was 50 years. Will, not willing to back down, matched it. The banker's daughter, seeing her father facing a tough challenge, curiously joined the game to watch. The banker got excited and upped the bet by 200 years, hoping Will would back off. But Will, no longer caring about life and death, bet everything, leaving himself just enough time to reveal his cards. This bold move stunned the father and daughter. Fortunately, Will won the game in the end. His capital shot up to over 1,000 years. The banker admired Will's courage and introduced his daughter to him, inviting him to a party at his mansion. Will gladly accepted, but from the look in Mary's eyes as she left, it was clear she was starting to feel something for Will. And Will, too, started to get the illusion of entering high society. Forgetting about his revenge, he bought a supercar at a 4S shop for 60 years, and went to the banker's seaside villa. The banker warmly introduced his family, including his mother-in-law, wife, and daughter. Later, at the banker's encouragement, Mary and Will danced in the living room. The two of them hit it off more and more, and eventually swam together in the sea. This made Mary think Will was special, and her affection for him deepened. But just then, the time police suddenly appeared. Without saying a word, they took Will upstairs for questioning. It turned out they had found the rich man's body under the bridge, and based on the surveillance footage, they saw that Will seemed to be a prime suspect. From his checkpoint records and the full district surveillance, they traced Will's movements. Facing the police's accusations, Will calmly stated that the rich man died by suicide. The time was a gift from him, but the captain thought this was absurd, because in all his years in the police force, he'd never heard of a rich person committing suicide. Only the poor kill others for time. So they gave Will no chance to explain, and confiscated most of his time, leaving him only 2 hours, claiming it was a lawful seizure, but in reality, it was a de facto death sentence. Will, of course, refused to sit idly by. Taking advantage of the guard's distraction, he quickly grabbed the gun and knocked them out, then jumped downstairs, taking Mary as a hostage. He sped off in the car. The captain, belatedly realizing what happened, chased after them in his own car. Fortunately, Will was a skilled driver. He deliberately went the wrong way and used a large truck to force the captain to stop, thus managing to escape. But new troubles quickly followed. Will had only 1 hour left. He urgently turned to Mary for help, but she coldly refused, because she didn't want to give time to a murderer. Seeing this, Will didn't bother explaining, and had no choice but to take her to the slums. As for why Will didn't die along the way, you could tell by Mary's crying face. They thought things would settle down, but just as Will wasn't paying attention, they were ambushed. The two fell into unconsciousness. Then the time bandits arrived at the scene. Seeing that Will only had 30 minutes left to live, the boss thought he was wasting his time. But then he realized that Mary had 10 years left before he could take it. The police sirens suddenly sounded nearby. His men quickly retreated. The boss, though unwilling, had no choice but to let it go. Not long after the bandits left, Mary regained consciousness. She saw she had only 30 minutes left, and her confused mind instantly cleared. While Mary panicked, Will remained remarkably calm, because he had given his friend 10 years of time earlier. Now it came in handy. When he saw the woman's earrings were real diamonds, Will rushed to the pawn shop. The owner took advantage of the situation and offered them only 2 days of time. Reluctantly, Will agreed, but this amount of time was clearly not enough. So Will decided to call the bank president and threaten him to pay the ransom. But when he answered the phone, it was the police captain. In the face of the captain's counter-threat, Will showed no fear. He directly quoted 1,000 years, demanding the ransom be delivered to a designated bank by noon the next day, or he would kill the hostages. For the bank president, this was nothing, but he hesitated, because he knew his daughter's nature very well. He understood that Mary had already sided with Will. Sure enough, he was right. Through their interactions, Mary had already figured out that Will was innocent, and from hearing about her mother's tragic situation, she began to acknowledge the cruelty of the time system. But what truly made her turn against her father was the fact that the next day at noon, not only was there no delivery of time, but the bank also closed early. Mary felt a deep, unspoken sense of disappointment. Will, sensing her sadness, comforted her, saying the police had likely stopped the bank president from delivering the ransom. He then decided to send Mary home amidst the crowd, to prevent her from being targeted by other criminals. Will handed her a gun for protection, but just as Mary was on the phone, accusing her father of being cold-hearted, the captain quietly snuck up behind Will, just as Will was about to get caught. Luckily, Mary turned around in time and shot the captain. Will narrowly escaped. Then the two of them stole a police car and fled the scene. This meant they were now completely entangled in the same fate. Worried that driving a police car would attract too much attention, they decided to hijack a luxury car from the rich district. Facing Will's gunpoint threat, the driver initially tried to negotiate, but the next second...
Whoa!
It went off. I was just trying to help.
The driver thought he had encountered a ruthless criminal, so he quickly opened the door and betrayed his boss. The two of them managed to get 10 years of time, and also stole the lady's diamond earrings.
You out.
Just like that, they drove off in the luxury car, committing assault and robbery. It was no surprise when they were eventually wanted by the police across the city. When the bank president found out, he quickly contacted the time police, planning to use his superpowers to remove his daughter's wanted status. But the captain refused to comply. Reluctantly, the bank president used his connections to contact the higher-ups in the police. But he could never have imagined what Mary would do next. Even if Jesus himself showed up, he wouldn't be able to save her. A truck drives straight into the bank lobby. Two armed robbers get off the truck. They rush straight to the bank vault. But the strange thing is, the vault is not storing money, but rows of metal boxes. After the two finish collecting a portion, they say to the people waiting for loans around them, all the time inside you can take as much as you want, and you don't have to pay it back. As soon as they say this, people rush into the vault. In an instant, all the boxes are looted. A dozen minutes later, the police send people to the scene. Seeing the robbers already gone without a trace, he can only take his anger out on the onlookers.
No one's watching our clocks, huh? Get out of here. I'll confiscate every second.
You heard that right. What he wants to confiscate is time. Turns out in the future time is currency. Everyone has a time counter on their arm. A cup of coffee costs 5 minutes. A bus ticket costs 2 hours. Once the timer hits 0 you die. But if it increases you gain immortality. People earn time by working. But no matter how hard they work, their paycheck is only enough to live until the next day. So the poor must work non-stop to survive, while the rich manipulate prices in the slums, enjoying life every day without worrying about death. Well, the protagonist used to be an honest worker, but a few nights ago, because the bus fare suddenly increased, Will's mother didn't have enough time and had to run home. She died halfway because her time ran out. So Will swore to take revenge on all the rich. He teamed up with his girlfriend Mary, started robbing time to give to the poor, but this also harmed the interests of the local gang boss. This day he was robbing the road as usual. He thought the guy would obey, but the young man wasn't afraid at all, and slowly drew a pistol from his waist. This was obviously beyond the boss' expectation, because to buy a gun requires time, which poor people could never afford. That was how he dominated the slums. But now the boss could only smile awkwardly and retreat with his men. But just as the young man relaxed, the boss suddenly launched a sneak attack. He shot the young man from behind, but once a person dies their time becomes useless, so the boss ended up with nothing. He blamed everything on Will and Mary, and decided to eliminate both at all costs. But Will and Mary had no idea. They were checking in at a hidden hotel, but on the way upstairs, another guest accidentally spotted them. He quietly left the hotel, and sold their location to the time robbers for a high price of 30 days. Soon after the boss stormed into Will's room. He didn't even give him a chance to grab his gun. He subdued both of them instantly. The boss was reluctant to waste Will's time, so he didn't kill him. Instead he proposed a time duel. Simply put, it was arm wrestling. The one whose arm is on top draws time from the other, until one of them hits 0 and dies. Will refused, because win or lose he would still die. The boss threatened him, "If you don't play, I'll kill you right now." Then Will felt killing intent rising, so he agreed to the duel. At first the boss had the advantage. Soon Will had only 20 seconds left. Another round passed. Will's timer began counting down from 10. The boss subconsciously looked at Will's timer, and that was exactly the chance Will was waiting for. He suddenly used all his strength and pressed him down. The boss was almost drained. His remaining time was running out. His men panicked and wanted to intervene, but Will still had a backup plan. He pulled a minigun from his pant leg, and in the blink of an eye shot 3 people. At the same time, the boss time hit 0. He convulsed violently and died on the spot. The hotel owner heard the gunshots and immediately called the police, but when the police arrived, they found only 4 cold bodies. Meanwhile, Will and Mary ran to the rooftop across the hotel. They wanted to observe the police's reaction, but accidentally saw the bank's loan rate instantly rise to 40%, which meant not only was their effort wasted, it actually increased the burden on the slums. After all, most poor people still carry mortgages. Will finally understood. Even if he stole thousands of years, all the rich had to do was move a finger to undo it, unless they could get 1 million years. Unexpectedly, this sentence inspired Mary, so the next morning, they went to the biggest Barton bank in the rich district. Mary distracted the bank manager. Will slipped into the guards team. He held the manager at gunpoint, forced him to the vault, threatened him for the password, but when Will opened the vault, he was stunned. Inside was exactly 1 million years. You know, from the Paleolithic era until now is only about 1 million years. The manager had already heard of their deeds. He hurried to stop them from doing something stupid. If so much time flowed into the slums, prices would skyrocket. The richest time would no longer be valuable. The poor would stop working out of fear of death. The entire social order would collapse. Besides, 1 million years could only support 2 generations to spend. Eventually everything would return to the old way. Because human nature is selfish. Everyone wants to be rich and gain immortality, so in the end it still becomes
For a few to be immortal, many must die.
Hearing this, Will was completely enraged. He almost sent the manager straight to hell, because his own mother was exactly one of those sacrifices. But ironically, this sentence made Will even more convinced that breaking the order was right, so the two no longer hesitated. They decisively took the time, and fled in the manager's luxury car. Meanwhile, the moment the 1 million years left the bank, the time police detected the anomaly. The captain immediately realized it was Will and Mary. He rushed to search the rich district. Seeing he only had 40 minutes of time left, he wanted to request backup from headquarters, but he happened to see Will's car. He drifted and followed, then ordered his team to block the checkpoint. If they resisted, they were to be shot on sight, but he didn't expect. The manager's car was bulletproof. Its security level rivaled the president's car. Even though the police blocked everywhere, they still watched the two escape into the slums. But before Will could celebrate, the captain suddenly took a shortcut and rammed them from the side. Seeing things turn bad, Will ignored his injuries. He hurriedly gave the time box to a little girl who came to help, telling her to distribute it to the poor. He kept only 1 hour to face being arrested by the time police. He thought they were doomed, but the moment people heard there was free time, they all rushed toward the little girl. Will seized the opportunity, dragged Mary and fled into the distance. The captain saw he couldn't catch up. He got back in the police car and chased. After some time, he successfully stopped Will and Mary. Seeing he had them cornered, the captain mocked Will, calling him a rabbit. But from the captain's familiarity with the slums, Will realized he was born there. Yet he wondered, if the captain was originally poor, why stop the poor from rising? The captain said helplessly, he didn't have the power to topple the wall of order, so he could only focus on being one of its bricks. From this it was clear, the captain had once been passionate about change, but life beat him down into what he was now. Will didn't want to argue anymore. He raised his timer, showing only 2 minutes left. He asked to borrow some time, or else they would die before the trial. But as soon as he said this, the captain seemed to realize something. He hurriedly pulled up his sleeve, and the next second, seeing their only hope die like that. Will and Mary panicked. Will had only 58 seconds left. Mary had a little more, but only 2 seconds more, and the nearest time station was at least 90 seconds away. They both wanted to sacrifice themselves for the other, wasting another 20 seconds. Seeing they were doomed, they gave up on separating, and quietly waited for death. But at that moment, Will suddenly remembered the captain's car. He shouted for Mary to run for the car. Will was faster and reached it first. He got 2 days of time, then sprinted back toward Mary, just like the scene when Will once chased after his mother. But this time, he saved her. The two smiled at each other after surviving death. But the rich would never smile again. After the 1 million years entered the slums, factories shut down. People poured into the rich district. Their numb cold faces disappeared, replaced by hope for a better future. The police could do nothing. They put down their weapons and went home. And now Will and Mary were in another rich district staring at their wanted news, ready to pull off another big job.
Told you there were bigger banks.